welcome to Candlelight Classics. In this video, I'll be reading a short story by Washington Irving, an American short story writer, biographer, historian, and diplomat, best known for his short story Rip Van Winkle. The short story is My French Neighbor. I hope you'll enjoy listening to it as much as I did narrating it for you. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy. My French Neighbor by Washington Irving. I often amuse myself by watching from my window, which, by the by, is tolerably elevated, the movements of the teeming little world below me. And as I'm on sociable terms with the porter and his wife, I gather from them, as they light my fire or serve my breakfast, anecdotes of all my fellow lodgers. I have been somewhat curious in studying a little antique Frenchman who occupies one of the jolies chambres à garçons already mentioned. He is one of those superannuated veterans who flourished before the Revolution and have weathered all the storms of Paris in consequence, very probably, of being fortunately too insignificant to attract attention. He has a small income, which he manages with the skill of a French economist, appropriating so much for his lodgings, so much for his meals, so much for his visits to St. Cloud and Versailles, and so much for his seat at the theatre. He has resided in the hotel for years, and always in the same chamber, which he furnishes at his own expense. The decorations of the room mark his various ages. There are some gallant pictures which he hung up in his younger days, with a portrait of a lady of rank, whom he speaks tenderly of, dressed in the old French taste, and a pretty opera dancer, pirouetting in a hoop petticoat, who lately died at a good old age. In a corner of this picture stuck a prescription for rheumatism, and below it stands an easy chair. He has a small parrot at the window to amuse him when within doors, and a pug dog to accompany him in his daily peregrinations. While I'm writing, he is crossing the court to go out. He is attired in his best coat of sky blue and is doubtless bound for the Tuileries. His hair is dressed in the old style with powdered earlocks and a pigtail. His little dog trips after him, sometimes on 4 legs, sometimes on 3, and looking as if his leather small clothes were too tight for him. Now the old gentleman stops to have a word with an old crony who lives in the entresol and is just returning from his promenade. Now they take a pinch of snuff together. Now they pull out huge red cotton handkerchiefs, those flags of abomination as they have well been called, and blow their noses most sonorously. Now they turn to make remarks upon their 2 little dogs, who are exchanging the morning's salutation. Now they part, and my old gentleman stops to have a passing word with the porter's wife. And now he sallies forth, and is fairly launched upon the town for the day. No man is so methodical as a complete idler, and none so scrupulous in measuring and portioning out his time as he whose time is worth nothing. The old gentleman in question has his exact hour for rising and for shaving himself by a small mirror hung against his casement. He sallies forth at a certain hour every morning to take his cup of coffee and his roll at a certain cafe where he reads the papers. He has been a regular admirer of the lady who presides at the bar and always stops to have a little badinage with her en passant. He has his regular walks on the boulevards and in the Palais Royal, where he sets his watch by the petard fired off by the sun at midday. He has his daily resort in the garden of the Tuileries to meet with a knot of veteran idlers like himself, who talk on pretty much the same subjects whenever they meet. He has been present at all the sights and shows and rejoicings of Paris for the last 50 years, has witnessed the great events of the Revolution, the guillotining of the King and the Queen, the coronation of Bonaparte, the capture of Paris, and the restoration of the Bourbons. All these he speaks of with the coolness of a theatrical critic, and I question whether he has not been gratified by each in its turn, not from any inherent love of tumult, but from that insatiable appetite for spectacle which prevails among the inhabitants of this metropolis. I have been amused with a farce in which one of these systematic old triflers is represented. He sings a song detailing his whole day's round of insignificant occupations and goes to bed delighted with the idea that his next day will be an exact repetition of the same routine. Je me couche le soir, enchanté de pouvoir recommencer mon train le lendemain matin. The end. I hope you enjoyed this amusing story, and if you did, be sure to check out other stories on my channel. Following hereafter will be a short biography about Washington Irving, which I hope you'll also enjoy. This will be shown after the reading. Please subscribe to my channel and please favorite and share this video. Your support is much appreciated and needed. I look forward to seeing you again here on Candlelight Classics. Until the next time, goodbye and thank you.